relative clear speed.
Yeah, Can of Burn is a fun one. Can of Samaria is also pretty fun. I personally have not seen a lot of Fire Rod in this tournament, so that'd also be interesting to see as well.
And Uncle is in the wrong Zelda game, going for the Windfish. That's going to cost him some time.
Yeah, a little bit of time. Gonna have to fall asleep, enter the dream world, but they do get a bottle from the first chest.
I don't know about you, but I'm always happy to see a bottle early, because that means I don't have to worry about like routing sick kid check-in later. You can just kind of get it all done at once.
Yeah, definitely. I will certainly agree with that.
All right, we're mere seconds away from finding out our Uncle item. Oh, and we get to the bomb. You know, I always like to think that the bomb start is a classic, you know, good news, bad news scenario. Hey, runners, the good news is you don't have to worry about farming for bombs. The bad news is, you know, you got to have just bombs.
Yeah, at least they gave a little bit of sympathy, handing out the mirror there as well, just to kind of get that extra item in your possession before they leave. But yeah, bomb start, very interesting start. Have to be very, very careful with those bombs. Gotta make sure you make them count, because if you run out of them, you'll have to save and quit and go to the last checkpoint that you made it to get a restock.
Yeah, that is correct. Although, you know, the blow is softened just a little bit by getting that mirror, because it lets you mirror straight out of Zelda's cell, so that saves you a sweet minute or so.
Oh yeah, definitely. That'll definitely be one thing I can see our runners being happy to use when they get Zelda.
Alright, let's check out the bomb strats. Oh, we got Rick trying to be fancy. That was mere seconds away from working.
They both get them down. I have to waste both wasting one extra bomb for that guard, but they do make it through, and they still have a buffer to work with. But again, they're gonna have to be a little more precise when it comes to these next ones.
Yeah, smart move by both the runners for picking up the heart there. One of the most dangerous things with the bomb start when you don't have a lot of health or extra options is sometimes you have to get damaged by your own bomb to get the enemy into the explosion. And if you don't pick up a lot of extra hearts, the risk of getting yourself killed that way is not, you know, a non-zero factor.
Ooh, unfortunately for Rick, does lose another bomb, but does get him right there.
Oof,
gotta be
half
careful
a heart.
though, down to half a heart.
I always knew that Rick was heartless, but I didn't think he was going to take it that far.
Oh my gosh. He showed some really good strats in that room though, so definitely used his bombs effectively there.
Oh yeah, and in fact he not only did he effectively use his bombs, he also picked up some time back from TazerOne. So.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, it's the moment of truth time now. Let's see if these runners remember that they did in fact pick up the mirror, which could be difficult to remember when it's a tourney race and you know, you're under stress.
Yeah, and with the stress of a bomb start, that could be something on their minds. Ricketing.
Oh no! That is some terrible guard RNG on there, unfortunately.
Yeah, you could see that he kind of he hesitated a little bit before going down that staircase the first time, just because he saw that guard coming at him. Tried to make a break for it on that second go, but unfortunately did not work. But TazerOne, forgetting that he has the mirror, so he's going to be taking the long way back to the beginning. Yeah,
ironically, if Rick gets down to his spot and remembers the mirror, this gap will close, not completely, but pretty significantly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, the other theory is that TazerOne really enjoys kind of like the red carpet, you know, gold brick motif of Hyrule Castle. You know, he wants to wipe his boots on the rug. That's understandable.
Yeah.
I can respect.
Yeah, I can understand that too.
He also likes hugging green guards. They are adorable.
He just wants to thank the guards for their continued service to Hyrule, even if they are following the wrong leader at this point.
Yeah, they are kind of like shadow devil guards, because the real guards have faces at the end of the game. So. You could feel good about murdering them because they're not really people.
One thing that will help Rick out here a little bit, though, is because he took that death, he actually has his bombs restored, so he's back up to 9 again. So he has a little more bombs he can use for the last remaining enemy in this dungeon.
Yes! He remembered the mirror.
And he remembered the mirror. There we go.
So what you're saying is that death was intentional to restock his bombs, so he'll have all that he needs for Kakariko. That's what I
would not go that far, but he does have a restock.
Meanwhile, we see Taser making his way through. I'd say the hardest part of the bomb start is coming up on the right side of the screen here. Killing the rat that has the small key in the escape with just a bomb can be a little tricky.
Yeah, and this... Oh, okay, well, TazerOne gets
nails
that
it.
done, no problem. Good rat RNG right there.
Yeah, he squeaked right by that one with good timing.
Anyway, in the back of Sanctuary, or back of the Escape, rather, we get some health.
Yeah, I'm never sad to see a heart container early in the game.
Definitely not. You never know what you're going to get into with these seeds. You might have something difficult, some early Dark World access, so got to be prepared for it.
We're going to be seeing Rick heading toward his own rat chase. He has significantly more bombs to do it, though.
He's actually not using bombs. Or okay, maybe he is. He was looking at that gold bee that he had, thinking maybe he could use that, but he may see more value to that at Kakariko when he gets there.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. Like, I could totally see using it in Kakariko for money, but using it in the mini Moldworm Cave next to Generous Guy is a pretty good use of it as well.
That's true, that's true. So, yeah, he did have the bombs to work with, so, again, makes sense.
Alright, so we get TazerOne doing a pretty standard route. You know, in a one-on-one scenario, a lot of times it would behoove you to check. Ooh, a nice bomb pull there. It kind of behooves you to check the kind of blowout potential locations, like Aghanim Lumberjack Tree and stuff like that, because you're not racing against the field; you're just racing against one opponent. So you want to reduce the odds that you're going to get just destroyed by not checking one ridiculous place early.
Ooh, hi, sword upgrade in Lumberjack Tree.
Well, you know, you need at least one sword to cut the curtains behind Aghanim, so we know at least Fighter Sword is somewhere that isn't Aghanim locked. And Rick...
Mirroring, and actually going back to the front of Hyrule Castle, which, you know, could be using this as a way to maybe check some other locations, maybe get some items a little bit earlier than his opponent. You know, not a terrible play. Doesn't look like that was on accident, because he was moving right away when he did that.
Oh, he could be making lemonade out of lemons here. So he's doing the self-sort check first. Meanwhile, on TazerOne's side of the screen, it's mostly just rupees in the Lost Woods. But again, those aren't terrible going into Kakariko. Now he doesn't have to hunt for rupees. He can pay off that bottle vendor quite easily.
Mm-hmm. And pretty much taking a page from what you said earlier, looks like Rick is going to Mini Moldworm Cave, and I can see him using that gold bee in there.
Alright, let's check it out. Hell yeah, B-strats. B-Torp is smiling wherever he is. God, look at that bee go. He is just destroying kids. Yikes.
Yeah, very, very nice clear from Rick in that room. See, you got a heart container, 300 rupees, arrow upgrade, red rupee, and 50 rupees into the TazerOne check-in blinds. Rupees, heart piece, power glove.
That's always nice to find.
And more rupees.
Alright, so Rick is going to be checking out Ice Rod Cave. Meanwhile, TazerOne continuing that Kakariko sweep. So far, the only item of real consequence is Power Glove, but we've only just begun the Kakariko.
Yeah, that's true. And at this point, like, the Power Glove does not really unlock anything, at least by logic. It could try to sequence break your way up to Death Mountain, but without Lamp, that is not within the logic yet.
It unlocks being bad.
Oh, okay, yeah. That NES Power Glove, I get you.
Fire Rod in the well cave here, so that's another nice pickup.
Oh, definitely. And Rick is continuing with doing some shenanigans from starting at Link's house as opposed to the Sanctuary.
The double rod find in Kakariko.
Wow. I guess Trinex is on the table at some point.
Whenever you find early Ice Rod, Turtle Rock is almost never required because
That's true.
the logic hates you.
Yeah, I've noticed that trend too.
Alright, so TazerOne just vandalizes a poor old woman's house, tries to murder her chickens, and then steals her retirement money.
And then proceeds to take a piece of the sick kid's heart.
Well, that's almost courteous. He didn't take the whole thing, he just took a quarter of it.
Fair enough. Looks like we did get a mushroom, though.
That was a pretty sweet high five by the runners through the gate on the south end of Kakariko there.
Yeah. Not something you normally see a lot in standard mode, because again, a lot of the early routes are very, very streamlined. But yeah, really cool when it does happen.
The one thing I like, we're going to be seeing these runners probably completing a lot of stuff now that the other had. The one thing I like about what AdirondackRick did with his run is a lot of people like going to the south shore of Lake Hylia first, because then if you get Dark World access through stuff from the Lake Hylia area, you can immediately use it in the Kakariko area and kind of go exploring. So that route has the potential to have a real large upside. It just did not in this case.
Yeah, did not really have much of a payout here, but you know, when you have the items and the way Rick had the items for that particular play, sometimes it doesn't hurt to try that. Like you said, they could gain an advantage. So, you know, definitely good on him for trying something, and don't think he's really going to be losing a lot of time for doing that either.
No, maybe the extra walking overworld time from mirroring out of Sanctuary, but that's relatively minuscule. And so early in the race, it's just hard to tell whether or not that's a pro or con at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
So we see TazerOne making his way through to the dam, using the mirror to delete blocks, and we get delicious, delicious literacy. I wonder if Rick was intending to route the dam in with an Agina cave check later. Perhaps that was on the table for him.
I have seen a lot of runners opt to do that, and honestly, it does make sense. That Agina location is so far out of the way, and it's a location you don't really want to go to when it's the only thing available. But now you can route it in with the dam and kind of give a one location kind of 2 extra items. So I definitely respect people when they do that.
Oh yeah, and again, in a tournament setting, one-on-one, if you skip one location that your opponent doesn't very early, and it happens to be something important, that could really hurt you.
For sure.
TazerOne using his last bomb. Can he hit the mold worm? He does.
Ooh, and that was good that he did, because he had no magic to use that fire rod or ice rod.
He's going to be out of bombs to blow up Ice Rod Cave, though.
Yes, that check will be, unfortunately, not looked at for the time being, but he does have some other options. We mentioned that delicious literacy that we got a little bit ago. We could go see what's inside Desert Palace.
Yeah, he does have a fire source and gloves. Very low amount of magic, though, so it would be a pretty tough way to complete the dungeon. And with no boots, it's hard to tell, how completable Desert's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't even know whether or not Desert is Pendant or Crystal yet, because we have not gotten a map check from either player quite yet.
Yeah, I do not think we have. So yeah, I mean, that is still information that we would like to have, but just unfortunately do not have at the moment. Oh, well, there's some bombs for Taser if he wants to go pick them up.
That's actually a fortuitous find. TazerOne decided to show us the entire prayer animation there with the Samus sprite. And I think are we getting a mushroom check out of Rick here? Looks like it.
Yes, I think we are getting exactly that.
And Rick deciding to share the letters of that sign, with the guards.
TazerOne does take a death in early Desert Palace, but that's okay. This way he can restore with most of his life intact, so... Okay, what will that mushroom give us today? Ooh, money. If Rick wanted to, he could continue on his way here and check out Zora, and it looks like he is going to be doing just that. Anyway, got some more, ooh, I just realized something. TazerOne doesn't have a super great way to take out these enemies here. Gonna have to, save and quit and leave. Could have gone back to get those bombs, but using those 3 bombs for just those 2 enemies did not seem worth it, I imagine.
Yikes. Well, we'll have to see whether or not Zora pays off or not.
Yep, that seems to be where Rick is headed right now, and looks like Taser's going to be taking a page from that same book to check up here as well. Ooh, the hammer.
That is a nice find. Wow, a really nice gamble paying off for Rick there.
Definitely. That is an item you definitely want to see, especially right now when we don't really have a consistent way to do damage to enemies, relying mostly on bombs and magic at the moment.
Alright, so we got red pendant Hera, red crystal desert, and then a regular crystal in Eastern, it looked like. Alright, we're seeing Taser. Let's see if he decides to walk it all the way through and go to Zora, because this could be a key decider for his early game here.
Yeah, he already left Desert early when did not get to see a single item in Desert, and there was still a chest remaining at least. So, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he is foregoing the Zora check for now.
Ooh, interesting.
Alright, Sasha's Garage. We got the Adventurer starter set with a glorious fighter sword and blue mail, and a slightly larger bomb bag.
Not bad, not bad.
Well, you go to relatively defenseless to pretty well armed and about 3 item checks there if you're AdirondackRick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Taser will be making the same discovery, putting to use the bomb he picked up next to the witch's hut.
Now, one thing he's probably going to want to hope for is he's going to want to hope for the flippers in Eastern Palace, because I have a feeling that's the reason why he did not go all the way to Zora. He wanted to make sure he could get all the other items in the area, so could be putting that off just a little bit until he has those flippers. But if the flippers aren't in Eastern, he's going to have to walk all the way back up there anyway, or do the fake flipper glitch to get over there.
Yeah, at this point, some piece of progression or Moon Pearl or something like that is pretty likely to be an Eastern here.
Mm-hmm. We could even get the lamp, and that could send us up to Death Mountain, because Tower of Hera with the mirror, that could be accessible.
Yep, with the mirror and the hammer, you've got quite a bit of Death Mountain accessible. Rick solving the hardest puzzle room in the game, pressing that one switch like a champ, and is rewarded with a very large key. This dungeon is significantly easier to kind of progress through with a sword. Not that it's impossible otherwise, but it's just nice to have, especially if you want to do the dark room toward the end of this dungeon.
Yes, that is correct. There could be an item beyond the big chest in the dark room, or past the dark room, in the big key chest. Now, oh, there's our second sword upgrade.
My Aghanim alarm inside my brain is just going off right now.
Yeah,
we're not quite there. We're not quite there.
Still need that lamp, but it still very well could be on the table. And okay, just the compass. Yeah, like, we haven't seen that item in desert, if there is one. We haven't seen Agina yet. If the Moon Pearl's not there, this could very well be an beaten Aghanim to get to Dark World.
It is very true, although the dream is not totally dead.
Mm-hmm.
There are those other places you mentioned.
Yeah, those places I mentioned. And, getting the lamp would, getting the lamp would put Aghanim on the table. There is also still Death Mountain as well, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going to be given to us in the next couple of checks.
It's worth pointing out, too, that the chest that Rick is checking right now is technically outside of the logic. He's not supposed to be here because he does not have the lantern yet, so we'll see if this makes a difference or not. He's rewarded with the best boomerang.
And with that, I think Rick is going to be heading south to the dam, going to pick up his book, and we'll probably head right to the Desert Palace area as well.
Yeah, in the end, this will turn out to be really damn good routing. Just crickets? Alright, that's fair. Meanwhile, Rick is going to be using that mirror trick once again, saving himself a trip in and out of dam in extra time. Oh, and TazerOne taking a death inside Eastern. It would feel really bad, man, to have to come back all the way in for just a blue boomerang.
Looks like he is not going to be worried about that, though. Unfortunately, that will be weighing heavily on his mind. So he could be thinking there's an item back there, and there is an item back there. It just will not be progression.
Well,
so,
and honestly, skipping it if your taser is not a completely terrible idea. I mean, it would have been nice to grab it, but he knows it's outside of the logic because there is no lantern in his possession.
Right. That is true.
So if he's counting chests, he does know that there's one more item in Eastern somewhere. But he knows he has to come back eventually anyway, so... The only thing that'll hurt is if he goes straight to Armos with a bow when he comes back and finds out there's still not another item in there, he might be tempted to go back for it.
Right.
Ooh. And the single troll arrow from Agina's cave. Thanks for nothing, jerk.
Yeah, I think this is the part of the seed where I'd chuck a bomb at him before I'd leave, but since bombs have been kind of an item that TazerOne's definitely needed, probably.
Well, I mean, Adirondack,
in this case,
Rick did take that strategic death to refill his bombs. As you mentioned.
Yeah.
You specifically said that is a 100% intentional move that he did.
I don't think so.
No, I've got you on tape, buddy. Don't worry about it. Wow, the bunny sprite prayer animation is impressive.
Yeah. Again, just major shout outs to the developers of all the sprites that have been used for Link to the Past Randomizer. They're all fun to watch. They were just very well animated for all the different like movements and everything, and just seriously such a great work by the entire sprite developer team.
Agreed. Very interesting to see that TazerOne has been right behind AdirondackRick for the last few kind of routing choices. The only real significant difference between the two runners is that Rick has been to Zora and has his hammer. Hasn't been able to really take advantage of it, though, due to lack of a lamp, flute, or moon pearl.
Well, we'll see in just a moment, because I believe this is the only... Well, actually, it's going to be the big key, but... Oh, no, okay, never mind. Forget I said anything.
And, you know, with hammer and powder in my possession, I would be very, very, very interested to see what's behind the magic bat at this point.
Yeah, because now I think that is the only thing we have left, because I think Big Key is on the torch, which means we do need boots to finish that dungeon.
I believe you're correct. But I try not to negate routing options lab on there, because I'm bad at it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that powder pretty much forcing this one location here to have the next progression.
Rick is going to have some trouble sprinkling powder without any magic, though. So we'll see. I think he might be forced to use the potion he bought.
If only he had the can of Samaria.
Yeah, if only. The dream is dead.
Because he could then do the fake powder glitch with powder and get in here. But yeah, no magic, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like Rick just realized it. Is he gonna do it? He's drinking the blue goo, folks. This is gonna be 160 rupee price dusting right here. Let's see if it was worth it.
Well, I mean, this is all we have left, I think. So I think that this has got to be what we need. Oh my gosh.
You know, would you pay 160 bucks for a pair of really floppy Nikes, Kirby? I would.
Well, it is progression, so I guess yes.
They're like blue clown shoes.
Anyway, I do want to very quickly address something that was said in chat. The thing is, yeah, Rick did turn in the mushroom already, but you can still use fake powder with powder. It's more so using the powder without having any magic, but it works in the same way as fake powdering with the mushroom does. So you can still do it because it's in the same item slot. So Rick could have still done that, but unfortunately no can of Samaria, so...
Oh no, is Taser going back to Eastern? Or maybe he's going up to Zora.
There's the Moon Pearl.
Ah, yikes. Man, so the hobo wasn't really a hobo after all. He was some kind of jewel smith on the lam from stealing a Moon Pearl somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Alright, looks like we're going to be... we might be treated to a dose of hype right now. Shortly, anyway.
Yeah, gonna finally see us in that dark world. And then we'll also maybe check out Hype Cave, I guess.
the Dark World tile set is the primary concern of Kirby. And that's understandable. I mean, look at that water. It looks like just polluted and gross. Meanwhile, we've got Taser heading up to his own personal hype water area with his Zora check here. He'll be real happy to pick up this hammer.
Yeah, but I don't think he'll be very happy when he sees what that hammer will eventually lead to, though.
Wow, that is a 1 out of 10 hype cave right there. Yikes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing really too substantial there.
I mean, there was money there, but it wasn't even good money.
And see, money is not really much of a concern anymore, because we have the big Zora check done already, and, you know, there are some other things we can purchase. We can get more potions. There's obviously Palace of Darkness, the chess game, digging game, and all of that, but, you know, once you get that 500 done with, don't need to worry about it so much, and we get even more rupees from our good friend Stumpy there.
Good old Stumpy. What is a weird tree statue need with currency?
Very little, apparently.
All right, I do like this routing by Rick here. He's doing the a free bottle with blue goo in it after you've already quote unquote wasted one is a nice find if you're Rick.
Mm-hmm.
But going through the Dark World through the south here, checking Digging Game is nice because he can mirror outside of Digging Game if he doesn't find the mitts, and just kind of walk his way north and re-enter the Dark World by the Village of Outcasts area. I do like this choice.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Ooh, is Taser going to... It's a bold move when you don't have Moon Pearl, but I can't say I blame him. He might be feeling a little behind. So Taser is going to Death Mountain, outside of the logic.
Yes,
We'll
he
see what he
is.
finds. It was a pretty long walk for the Moon Pearl in this seed.
Yes, it was. Basically walking all the way to Zora to get the hammer, walking all the way to Desert to get the powder, to get the flippers from Magic Bat, to walk all the way back to Zora or the Zora area, anyway, for the hobo to get the Moon Pearl.
Wow, that Dead Rock was just giving Taser the business. I hate Dead Rocks. I hate him so much.
Yeah, it makes me have a couple of questions for those developers who put those in there. It's like, why put such annoying enemies in a place called Death Mountain? Like, I mean, come on, Death Mountain. That sounds like a place I want to go on vacation.
Yeah, they should have named it like Sunny Seaside Mountain or Happy Fun Time Smiles Mountain.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they got to work on their PR. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see what's in Spectacle Rock. Just a piece of heart on top. That's boring. Ooh.
Ooh.
That is a nice find for Taser. Wow, that turns around this play, in my opinion.
Yeah, that does give the bow an item that is very, very important to every seed. So you need the bow to finish the game. Also get the Dark World check. I did see a pendant at Thieves Town, so I think all 3 pendants have been determined. I did not see the other red crystal, though.
Yeah, I missed that too. I think Swamp was the other pendant.
Yes, we knew that from Sashrala.
I was just reiterating it for the crowd, my friend.
I gotcha.
Also, I never learned how to read.
Anyway, Rick is checking out Skullwoods now. Gonna be heading straight for the back, it looks like.
Well, if you're planning on clearing Skullwoods with your fire rod, you might as well clear the back out just in case there's an item on Mothula or something.
You know, he does have the mirror and the book, so we could be potentially seeing another important check right after he finishes his dungeon.
Is he gonna check his Tinder matches? I don't get it.
You'll find out when he's done with Skullwoods.
Oh, I'm so excited! I can't wait. Ooh, we get an Ether pedestal check. Rick opting for the Boomerang Gibdos strats here.
Yeah, it doesn't have a super great way to take out the Gibdos right now, so kind of good idea to stun them just to kind of get them out of the way and not waste too much magic on them.
So this will be a real interesting play for Taser here. He's got Mirror, which makes for pretty fast checks of Hera. But Hera is a pendant, and not a green one at that. So I'd be curious to see how much time he devotes to this dungeon. Meanwhile, we've got a relatively medium stakes Mothula fight here. This fight is by no means free when you've got just Master Sword and only about 7-8 hearts.
Ooh, getting really unlucky with that spike RNG right there, but oh wow, nice. Gets all the hits in, takes down Mothula.
Alright, pretty nice fight from Rick there.
And I was honestly getting a little worried because his first few attacks were actually sword beam attacks, which don't do a lot of damage, so when he got in there close and personal, he made those hits count, and that's what's important.
And with that mirror, going back in to check this other item down here is a real smart play.
Looks like TazerOne has gotten both items from Tower of Hera, picked up the red boomerang, the other boomerang, which, you know, makes sense. He missed out on the blue one when he died in Eastern, so he has another one. May not be the best boomerang, but, you know, it's a boomerang.
Alright, extra heart container out of Skullwoods. Again, almost never sorry to see those. Oh my god, those dead rocks. I'm not even playing the seed, I'm getting annoyed. Oh man, so we're getting a check of something that I feel like is important.
Maxing out the Richter scale, I think that is the Quake medallion.
You are correct, sir. So that could be an incredibly important piece of information, or it could be a complete waste of time. We just don't know yet.
That's right. We won't know until we see what the medallion requirements are for both Turtle Rock and Misery Mire, both of which are crystals. So, you know, there's pretty good possibility we might need those.
Yeah, pretty decent odds that could be relevant. In either way, just knowing what's on the pedestal is always a load off your mind.
Yeah, that way, once you figure out whether or not you need that, you can kind of shift your playstyle to that pedestal in question, knowing that, okay, so I need to get those pendant dungeons cleared as soon as possible because I'll need this item. And, you know, if they run into an item that they need for the other dungeons that are crystals, that's good. They have those items. They don't have to go through every single dungeon, essentially. So, you know,
yeah,
it's all good stuff.
Oh, wow. The mitts. So the Death Mountain play ends up being very valuable for TazerOne, and we've still got 4 more chests left with the bow and Titan's mitts in Death Mountain here. Yikes.
And if TazerOne really wanted to, he could show off a glitch that we don't really see too often. It has a cave named after it. Oh, and there's the lamp on top of Bumper Cave.
Wow. So man, Cape is going to be somewhere important too.
Anyway, we're not going to be seeing that Super Bunny glitch I was talking about or alluding to right there. So TazerOne going to go back to the Light World, bottom of Hyrule, and going to be checking some other locations. We'll probably end up with that. Actually, wait, he does not have the flippers yet. Never mind.
Alright, Rick doing the Graveyard North check here. Always very annoying to have to walk through the mini maze when you don't have boots or the mitts.
Yeah, I actually lost a tourney round match in the fall tournament because I did not know you could do that. So, yeah, it's good to find out all those little nuances, because it does not look like you can get back there, but you definitely can with just the mitts, or just the gloves.
Yeah, it's not an obvious location. It's definitely something that comes up in the randomizer, though. But it has been known to really get NMG players.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Alright, so we got TazerOne taking advantage of his bow grab and just gonna finish off Eastern while he's here. I have a feeling that death in here might have been weighing on his mind, so he might be worried that he missed an item or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go back through the dark room and look for the item there first, or just go straight to Armos.
He does need to be a little careful of his health still, though. Only 2.5 hearts, and if he does not kind of navigate that dark room effectively enough, could get surprised by some unlucky hits by those spaghetti monsters. As I like to call them, anyway.
I think their real name is like Popo or something innocent
Yeah,
sounding.
I believe that's what it is, yes. I like to call them spaghetti monsters, though.
If only they were flying.
Mm-hmm.
TazerOne having a little problem with that room. That room can get annoying if you're slightly off in the pot throwing. You suddenly have to deal with forced alphos, which is very annoying.
Ooh, and Rick opting to get that heart container. Honestly, I do not blame him. Still early. I feel like once you kind of have that first row completed and full of hearts, you kind of feel good about your health. May not need to get any more or go out of your way to get any more containers or heart pieces if they're kind of like in a ledge location or something.
Well, it's just good to know. It's good to know what your limits are, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that if you're a runner that knows, hey, I could take an extra 5 seconds to pick up this heart container. Is that worth the time? Will it save me a death later?
Right.
And
right.
Knowing what is and is not worth your time, I think, is an important skill in this randomizer.
Oh, definitely. I agree completely.
All right, so TazerOne opting to face his fears, go back to the room that troubled him so much. I can respect it.
Is going to be playing it a little bit safe, though, which is, again, understandable. I can definitely understand that.
Ooh, and he gets a free 4 bombs.
Ooh, nice.
What a deal. He'll get that and the best boomerang in the game. Meanwhile, the other spaghetti monster only gives a piece of heart.
But this is probably what Rick was thinking this whole time, since he knew he had the mirror. He knew he was going to come back here at some point, so now he's going to be doing the rest of the Zora checks. Also going to show off the fairy bottle check for this seed. You toss a bottle and you get some random contents in your bottle. Looks like we get that blue potion back.
The value is off the charts.
And we do know what that ledge item is from earlier, so Rick is done with the Zora area, going to be making his way back to the Dark World again, and probably going to look at the Village of Outcasts area next.
Yeah, it's always tough to think about when you want to go independent Thieves Town, but you've got Hammer, you've got everything you need to complete that dungeon and the surrounding area, so wouldn't blame him if he decided to dive into that one.
It is another 5-6 crystal as well, and he could be thinking, that Quake medallion is on the pedestal. Is that something I'll end up needing?
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to the end result of this game to see whether or not that Quake is going to be relevant, because that piece of knowledge could save Rick 10 to 20 minutes or more, just depending on how relevant it is.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, TazerOne dipped out of Hera once he got both items. If he knew that there was some on the pedestal, he probably would have not done that. So intel is very, very important in this randomizer.
All right, so TazerOne is really running out of areas he can check that weren't outside of logic for Moon Pearl to be.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of places he has. I think he's got very few left.
If only like a giant bat signal would appear on the screen right now, he'd know where to go.
Too bad DC Comics didn't just come out with a large movie, but it was Marvel instead. We really missed the brand tie-in on that one. Hashtag not sponsored. Alright, so Rick is making his way through Village of Outcasts. And I have a feeling, unless he finds a major progression item, that we're probably going to see what's inside of Thieves Town.
Meanwhile, TazerOne, I think going to... I'm actually not sure where he's going, because he did check Desert earlier, because that's where he got the powder.
Maybe he doesn't remember what's on the ledge. Pretty sure that we deduced that the big key was on the torch, but perhaps TazerOne either does not remember or did not come to that same conclusion.
Yeah, that could be the case.
I mean, it would be a great play otherwise. If you could finish up this crystal dungeon, why not? But
Oh, yeah, for
unfortunately,
sure.
with it being boots locked, he's gonna run into some trouble. Maybe he'll try to like use his boomerang in a real world, attempt to get the item down from there, but he will prove unsuccessful. All right, well, it's time to see if our math was correct. It was.
So we definitely get to that point in Randomizer, and this is a very, very common occurrence in Randomizer, where there's just like one location, you're very sure you comb the entire map, and you're just trying to think, what did I leave behind? And, to TazerOne's credit, Magic Bat is not really a location you think about this early on in a seed. I mean, it is 45 minutes in, but considering they're still looking for that Dark World access, it is not something you normally think about. You have to have those 2 items to get over here, so it's it's unfortunate, but it's just part of Randomizer sometimes. You just don't always remember every single thing you have left, but it looks like he is heading in the right direction, so he might be fine here.
I have a feeling that if he does go right to the bat, which he is, we might see some frustration slashes.
A little bit.
Meanwhile, Rick getting reasonable luck in the Hellway there.
Oh yeah, that wasn't too bad at all.
That wasn't bad at all. That was the heck way. Hey, wait, I thought I heard a chuckle. I win. Speaking of winning, TazerOne picking up his flippers. And he's going to be like, I was already in the Zora area. This is a gigantic ripoff.
Yeah, well, Taser, your opponent had to do the very same thing, so those are the breaks sometimes in Randomizer.
Yep.
Oh, Rick has a tempered sword, by the way.
Yep, yeah, he picked that up in the bomb room. He almost left, and then decided to come back and actually complete the dungeon correctly, which I think was a good choice. Alright, so I think Taser is opting to do the Waterfall of Wishing check first, judging by his route here. Which is not terrible in a math perspective, because there are 2 chests there and only 1 at Hobo. Oh, nope, I'm a big liar. It is a little faster to go at this location from Link's house, since you can kind of swim off right from the fortune teller there. But a lot of times what I'll do, like when I'm not sure what I want to do with my routing, is I'll head somewhere that I know, like at least that I have to go to eventually. And then you can start thinking really hard about your routing while you're already doing something, and it just can be a lot more efficient use of your time.
Oh, definitely.
So, so far, Rick has not found a whole lot in Thieves Town.
Except for that tempered sword. It's not progression, but it is definitely something to be happy about, because that'll make the end of the game a lot easier.
Very true. Is it worth 6 to 7 minutes? That's hard to say. But, I think there's still 1 more item left in this dungeon, unless I'm wrong. But I'm often wrong.
I think there is. We will see, because Rick is going to be opting to finish the dungeon here, which is a good call. Because, we don't know if we'll need the Quake Medallion yet, but it's good to have that covered just in case.
Yeah, and this is the power of that information we were talking about. If you know that there is a medallion, something that has a very good chance of being required, why not just finish off this dungeon?
For sure.
Alright, pretty reasonable blind fight there from Rick. Takes out the pun master himself. Wow, so other than Tempered Sword and perhaps a pendant, Thieves Town was garbage. One advantage that Taser is going to have over his opponent when he heads in this direction is he already has both the bow and the mitts. So having the mitts and the bow and your kind of left side Dark World routing makes for a lot of synergies. You can route in the frog, You can check a lot of locations in a very convenient way. You also have faster access to the Dark World. You could just kind of head north here, the way Taser's going. You don't have to go around through Lost Woods. So he'll pick up a lot of little time in efficiencies here. Will help close the gap a little bit, I think. Oh, questions in chat about my statements. The sword upgrade, not required, but we do know, and if you missed it earlier, that Quake is on the pedestal. So picking up that pendant could theoretically be required. We're not sure yet. We have not had eyes on either Swamp, or excuse me, Mire or Turtle Rock.
Ooh, looks like Rick's going to be checking the other tablet we have over here, the Bombos tablet.
An explosive routing choice. Oh, the value hook shot. It's like hiding your it's like hiding a key to your house next to your garage. Because now he can just take that hook shot and go straight into Swamp. But it's a green pendant, so man, is that a tough choice to make.
It is, but you know, if I know anything about Rick and his routing, like he is a big advocator of following the breadcrumbs, and he has all the items he needs to complete Swamp. He knows the lamp is not able to be gotten yet until he gets that cape, and you know, he sees Death Mountain up there with the hook shot. That's such a good place to go to, but he wants to make sure he's following that logic precisely, especially because this could be a pedestal seed as well. So he's probably taken all of that into consideration here.
Oh yeah, yeah, and for me personally, the knowledge that this is a high likelihood of being a pedestal seed makes clearing out this dungeon even more worth it. You know, plus it's a green pendant. On top of all that, you're getting an extra item, and you haven't been to the Palace of Darkness area yet, so you know you're gonna be able to turn in, you know, reasonably. So I do like this play a lot. You convinced me, Kirby. I'm putting down my torches and my pitchfork.
I mean, I'm someone, and I'm like all runners when I say this, is Swamp Palace, the dungeon you never want to do super early, because it's a dungeon that's so attractive to do in go mode. But in a seed like this, where it's like just so much intel is pointing you into thinking one thing, like I can understand going here. It's 6 items plus the 1 from the Green Pendant as well. So, you know, this could be the play. This could be the play that Rick's been looking for.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that a water-based dungeon in a Zelda game might be a little obnoxious? That's crazy talk.
Maybe a little.
We get to see TazerOne taking advantage of the mitts that his opponent did not have. So depending on what he finds in these key areas over here, this could be a chance for him to catch up here. We'll see how it goes. Also, Resident Sleeper peg game. Without the boots, man, does this suck.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot slower to do it without the boots.
I mean, you have to do it.
Yeah, because boots could be in here. Okay, they're not. Thank God.
That would be so insulting. You know, it would have been really great to complete this objective you just did, the item you just found. Come at me, bro.
It's happened to me in commentary more times than I am comfortable with, so just wanted to be sure.
All right, so far 2 out of 6 items in Swamp. Ooh, half magic. I'm always excited to see half magic.
Oh, definitely.
Ooh, it looks like Rick is doing if you're gonna full clear Swamp, this is the most efficient way to do it. So props to Rick for committing to full clear Swamp early.
And also props to not drowning the key as well.
Man, we're dropping mad props and ups around here.
Hey, both runners, I think, are definitely earning the props from this seed right now. Rick, with just kind of the way he's following the logic right now. TazerOne, using that sequence break to get the mitts effectively, to route and all this other stuff. I'm really curious to see how this race is going to go because of both of those factors.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited right now because Taser is, if he continues on this path, and ends up skipping Thieves Town, he'll have traded a whole lot of time in for maybe just Tempered Sword, which, in my opinion, is a good trade for how behind he is right now. So this is a really solid routing choice by him that might just pay off depending on how far he takes it.
Yeah, at this point, this race could honestly go either way, just depending on what items we see from these different types of checks here.
Well, we're about to see if the disgusting, gross, and downright awful left side of Swamp is actually going to pay out anything. Nope, just a extra large burrito from Chipotle.
Oh no!
Oh, that is glorious. So, map compass on the left side of Swamp.
You hate to see that to any runner when they decide to full check.
I'd say you hate to see it too, but I would be lying because I'm laughing super hard at the misfortune of others because I'm a terrible human being. That was funny. Poor Rick. And the worst part of that is because he knows that the big key is further down, that means if he wants to full clear this dungeon, he's going to have to come back to the big key chest with the key that's further down in here, which always just feels gross.
Unless that big key is in the big chest, which that could technically happen in this version of Logic.
Very true. But I mean, Swamp Palace is already in maximum troll mode, so...
Yeah, I guess.
Alright, so this is a moment of truth for Taser here. If he wants to take the hammer over to Pod, and which would not be a terrible play, he'll end up losing out on hookshot. Oh, he's making his way back. This Bombos check here is going to be huge. I think he's doing it. Meanwhile, 4 out of 6 items in Swamp for Rick have been garbage. Ah, the heart beep sound, I missed it. 5 out of 6 items in Swamp are garbage. Alright, Taser going to be picking up his hook shot. Excellent routing from Taser here at this mid-game. Really taking advantage of the sequence break he did earlier in the game. I really like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. He is saving and quitting on the top.
Ooh.
Could be going back to that mountain.
If he ends up skipping 2 pennant dungeons that are worthless, this could be huge. But if Quick ends up being required, it could be also huge, but not in his advantage.
Yeah. Rick doing a very good job of taking off all the cloud puffs on Argus.
All right. Time to see. So, Rick getting just garbage items from Swamp, but you were correct, Kirby. It looks like Big Key was locked in its own chest, so figure that one out.
Yes. Basically, for anyone wondering about this nuance, this was added about 2 versions ago into the game, or into the randomizer logic, where basically, because that big chest, and also the big chest in Skullwoods, the basement in Hera, and the big chest in Thieves Town technically as well, because those are technically optional, the developers figured that, well, why couldn't the things that block those item locations be in those locations? So that's kind of why you can see the big chest in the big chest, the big key in the big chest of Skullwoods and Swamp, the small key of Hera in the bottom part, and of course the small key in Thieves Town being in the big chest of Thieves Town.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with it. In my opinion, it just makes the routing in the dungeons a little bit more dynamic and less predictable. So, all joking aside about it not making sense, from a speedrunning perspective and just a fun perspective, I think it's a great change.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, so we've got Taser making a super reasonable play of Skullwoods. And boy, is that not the correct color of cane that Rick was hoping for.
Yeah, not really, unfortunately.
Taser doing the man mode bomb jump. That is a 2-pixel window when you do not have the boots. And it looks like he got it first try, so well done.
Okay, so Rick is heading into Palace of Darkness. Unfortunately, he does not have the bow. So he's not going to be able to finish this. And, you know, doesn't really have the lamp. So a lot of this dungeon is not within logic either. But, again, he is someone who likes following the logic. He's probably at least thinking that the cape's going to be in here at the very least, and that will send him to the lamp, and that'll probably send him up to Death Mountain. We really want to see what's up there in a number of ways. Also, there's the boots.
Wow. And he just immediately gets out of there because he knows that he's bow locked.
Right,
wow.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you're Rick, you save and quit, go to Sanctuary, and check out those bonk lock locations. Would not surprise me one bit if Cape was in one of them.
For sure.
Then again, I'm easily startled. All right. Boots check. 1. Nothing. You know, one thing I didn't think of until just now, that technically puts the rest of Deserts in the logic as well.
Yes, it does. I think he is going to check the King's Tomb location first, though, just because it is another location he still has to take care of. But, yeah, Desert is available at this point.
I do like this decision. Sometimes you just got to follow, you know, I wonder if my opponent has been here already. Sometimes you just got to follow the item chain that you're given.
Right.
So Taser heading into Skull Woods with only 3 hearts. This is a tricky fight. He does not have the Tempered Sword, although neither did his opponent while he was here. But starting this area with 3 hearts is rough. So Taser correctly, in my opinion, checking these extra skull pots for a few extra hearts. Those will be very welcome. One advantage he'll have over Rick in this situation is he has half magic for his fire rod, so his Mothula fight could be just a little safer.
Yeah, he'll get more shots with that fire rod, so that'll definitely be good for him.
Takes 8 shots to the fire rod to take out Mothula.
That is correct. And meanwhile, Rick is checking the King's Tomb location now.
This could be pretty huge. Or it could be like, you know, 10 arrows. That's the beauty of Randomizer.
Oh my god.
What? I'm a wizard. Quick, PM me $10. I'll tell you tomorrow's lottery numbers.
Back to Desert.
Wow. The real question is, Kirby, will I use my powers for good or for evil?
Hopefully good.
Now you don't know me very well.
But a man can hope.
Hope springs eternal, I suppose. Well, Taser, taking out Mothula. Meanwhile, we see Rick. He just hard following that boots find, which is, I think, a relatively smart play. He's going to have to come here eventually anyway. He's probably thinking that, like, maybe Mitts or something are back here.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice to route Mire and Desert in at the same time when you have the mirror and the flute, but the game doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, at this point, Rick is looking for, again, either Mitts, flute, or the cape, so we can get the lantern to get to Death Mountain. Death Mountain is where I think he really, really wants to be right now, and he wants to make sure he has the logic before he does that.
I keep waiting for Cape to show up behind this kind of boots lock here.
And, you know, like, getting Cape would definitely solve a lot of logic problems right now, but for all we know, it could be the flute we get at the end of this, and then the lamp is going to be even further buried behind the cape. Or not. There it is.
Booyah. Although, I don't think this qualifies me for witch status because that was pretty... Like, we were running out of places the cape could be.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But you know what? I'll still take credit. It was all me.
Rick is going to opt to save and quit.
Curious what Taser's doing. Okay, he did remember that you can't... Wow, just barely making it past those murder dactyls. Good lord.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so Rick immediately going for Lamp. I'm really curious as to why he did not finish Desert while he was there.
At this point, he knows he's not going to get any more items from Desert. And
Oh yeah, good call.
yeah, and when he gets the flute, he can just opt to finish Desert alongside Myers. So that's what I'm guessing he's thinking.
Nope, that's fair and very smart. Because we know we're going to have to find the flute eventually, since Myra's a crystal.
Yep.
That does mean that Rick is shortly going to make up the difference between him and TazerOne's routing, because I have a feeling he's going to be making his way toward Death Mountain here, where he will very shortly find the bow and the mitts, and potentially more if he goes up Dark Death Mountain. And with Hookshot in your possession, I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, pretty much all of Death Mountain, sans Turtle Rock, would be available to Rick right now. So definitely good to get all those checks in, get some intel to find out if Turtle Rock is a Quake Medallion dungeon. We might need that Paraclear as well.
Alright, so Rick picking up his lamp here. Let's see if he does the bumper boost. Not quite, but it was still swag with the boots. I give that bumper room a 7 out of 10. The nice thing about the positioning of the lamp is that it does make for very quick Death Mountain access, since you're literally right there after you mirror.
Also, Rick has not seen what's on the Lumberjack ledge yet, so he is going to see that last sword upgrade up there.
Yeah, a very smart check by Rick. Taser did check that early in the game.
Mm-hmm. It is probably a relief knowing that, Pedestal could be required. Do I have to do Aghanim as well? And thankfully, I do not, so good to have that behind him.
Yeah, that's always the worst. Pedestal required Aghanim seeds. Yikes. Had a 2-hour rando seed and... Gross. Alright, let's see what the old man's got here. Besides a pocket full of Werther's Originals. Just love. And that Dead Rock, once again, spoiling the fun of hookshot speed there. Be curious to see if TazerOne decides to pick up this heart container over here.
Looks like he is going for it.
Yep, and again, spending 4 to 5 seconds to pick up a pretty reasonable safety item is definitely worth the time if you feel you need it or if it could make a difference. Because all you have to do is not die once for that to have paid for itself and then some. Alright, Rick's setting up for the bomb jump. Let's see if he makes it here. So yeah, I think he's a little too high. Yep, unfortunately not. That is a tough bomb jump to do.
It is. There's a lot of different bomb jumps you can do in this game, and that one, I want to say, you need to be a little more precise than you would in some of the other ones that are in here.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot more bomb jumps that are more free than that one. So unlike his opponents, when he was here, Rick does know that the pedestal is Quake. So he's got 2 or 3 pendants already. So I'd say the odds of him clearing Hera are pretty high.
Yeah, and thankfully it's a case where once he does clear Hera, or get the 2 items from Hera, he'll be close to the top anyway, so it won't be too much extra time to go ahead and finish up Moldorm.
Well, considering his sprites, full clearing that dungeon wouldn't be a Hera-brained scheme at all.
That was terrible.
That was like a triple entendre. Come on.
Okay, that was pretty good. I'll give you that.
Your tears only fuel me, sir. All right, so Taser making his way over to Pod. He'll have to do it dark, but having the fire rod makes the turtle room not be quite so awful. And with mirror and hammer and bow, it's very completable. So I do like this decision by TazerOne. All right, so it looks like Rick is going for the full clear. Perhaps he's an appreciator of fine puns as well.
Okay, so what do we have in these chests? Probably small keys, but still, we need those to get further in this dungeon.
Yeah, there has to be at least one small key on this side. And the compass. Cool, now we know where the boss is.
If only this was key sanity, it'd give us a dungeon count, too.
If only. Oh, Rick totally had the bumper skip right there. He just didn't commit to the dash.
Looks like he is going to commit to the insecticide of Moldorm here.
Yep, a spin and a slash with Tempered Sword is more than good enough to take out this jerk. So Rick is now 3 out of 3 pendants. So if Quake is indeed required, which we have no idea if it is or not, Rick will have a pretty large lead over TazerOne. If, however, the opposite is true, I would tip my hat a little bit more toward TazerOne, just based on that he's totally skipped all those pendant dungeons.
Yes, and he is essentially in crystal clearing mode right now. He has 1 more crystal than what Rick has at the moment, and you know, if he does decide to go through this dungeon completely, he will have a 3rd one as well. And you know, Rick hasn't been clearing those crystal dungeons just yet. But the thing is, just with like his intel, like you said earlier, if Quake is going to be required for the seed, he has that information. He's going to be able to check those dungeons, which could potentially have the remaining items he needs. And not only that, but even if Quake isn't required, like I think that he will have like a lot of dungeons he'll be able to go mode anyway. So he just has made good use of the routing he's been going through, even if it happens the pedestal is not required.
Yeah, it's really hard to blame anybody for clearing dungeons that are crystals when they can do it. Like that's just efficient routing, really, when you get down to it. I mean, that's the beauty of Randomizer, is that there's lots of ways to route the game.
Exactly.
Alright, these next few chests for TazerOne are going to be pretty important, I think. If we find something crazy like Samaria or another pendant, it could be pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, Rick entering mini Moldworm Cave here, I believe. He will be taking this and going up Dark Death Mountain. And I guess every cave is Super Bunny Cave when you're playing with Rick Sprite.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a cape, so, I mean, it's just Super Bunny all the way.
Definitely.
He's got a fire rod with the laser vision, ice rod for the frost breath. Oh my god, I've got a fanfic to write. I'll be right back.
He does get that very, very nice bomb jump right there. Allows him to kind of just hop over that cave without gonna take that loop around, which is always nice.
Yeah, that does definitely save you time. Even if you fail that bomb jump once and come back up and do it the second time, it's still faster than walking. All right, this is a pretty big moment of truth here, because we're about to see Turtle Rock, so we're going to see one of 2 dungeons that have a required medallion.
Yeah, and with those pendants, in logic, let's see. It is Ether. Taser does actually have Ether.
He does. This is pretty huge. So we've got a 1/3 chance of Quake being required.
Yeah, that's right. We still haven't seen Misery Mire, and we're going to be seeing some more chests here. Flute is in here. We could be finding out that other medallion very, very soon. Oh, and there's Bombos.
Hey, you know what? I'll give you a semi-witch credit for that one, Kirby. Taser was having a little trouble in that dark maze, but did manage to right himself, so props for him. Getting lost in that room is just a nightmare.
It is.
Alright, so... Hookshot Cave, come on. Samaria in here would be pretty hilarious. Oh, yeah, you gotta use the hookshot to have it go out.
Ooh, TazerOne does get red mail from the big chest. Get a small shield from Hookshot Cave. Okay, nothing in Hookshot Cave, so it looks like Spike Cave might be the next thing to look for Rick right now.
Yeah, I think Rick was debating his options, and I think you are correct, Kirby. Spike Cave is the correct choice in this scenario. There's really no reason to leave it behind. And with the cape and Burna and bottles, it is 100% in the logic.
Yep.
Wow, Red Mail Samus. Is that supposed to be like the Dark Phazon suit from Metroid Prime? That's pretty cool looking.
I believe so, yes.
And she went from like pleasantly blue to like evil red visor. The seed just got insidious.
Oh, wow, there's a second shield for Rick.
Wow. I mean, red shield not useless. It can make movement in some areas a little nicer, but most runners are never really happy to see him.
That's a shield you really want to see early on for like the blind fight or something. Fights where you're dealing with a lot of fireballs in rapid succession. Like that's a good place to get that.
All right, the cutscene wall move almost over here. Now, there was one item I think I saw him open the chest, but I didn't see exactly what it was. But I don't think there was a lot of value gained from Dark Pod quite yet.
Yeah, not really.
TazerOne using the hammer to find his way in the dark room here. Having the fire rod and half magic will mean that he'll be able to use the torches to light his way in this very difficult turtle room.
Mm-hmm.
But getting those torches lit, if those turtles decide to body block your fire rod shots, could be awful. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and he gets it almost right away. Good work. Yeah, I'd say if, judging by the way Taser has been routing this, I'd say the odds of him going to Ice Palace next are pretty high.
Yeah, and right now I think that would be a very good play for him too, just because it's looking like that might be the progression, even if it's not. Desert is a 5/6 crystal, and so is Ice Palace, so, you know, Pyramid Fairy could have like the last few items we need. Maybe it has Flute.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable. And, you know, it would follow the logic of annoying water-based palaces in this game.
Yeah, a little bit.
Kirby really putting that, or excuse me, Kirby. You're putting your mic to good use, but Taser is putting his red mail and hammer to good use because those turtles do not do a lot of damage to red mail Link. So that's a pretty nice find to have gotten in pod here.
Definitely.
Alright, so Taser, not having the tempered sword that his opponent does, is opting to use the bow and arrows. Can make for a pretty quick kill if Helmasaur will just stand still like he just did.
And here's the final shield upgrade.
So Rick will have 100% guaranteed riot shield. Good stuff. Alright, so that is 3 crystals for TazerOne, which, considering his bad luck in the beginning of the seed, where it was like 45, 47 minutes, he did not have Dark World access yet, is a pretty decent turnaround, I'd have to say. So I'd say the odds of Desert or Ice Palace being checked right now are pretty high.
I think I would agree with that. Yeah, I'd say that that is definitely a possibility. Yeah, even though Taser does have that Ether Medallion, he still cannot get into Turtle Rock without that Cane of Samaria, so that is still off the table for him.
Yeah, we're missing a pretty high number of progression items considering how late into the seed we are. We're missing Samaria, we're missing Flute.
That's only 2, though. That's not too many, I guess.
Alright, so Taser, I'm curious if he's going to be heading to... I mean, obviously doing the bonk checks after finding the boots in Palace of Darkness is just smart. But I'd say where he decides to go after this, the game could very well hinge on his next decision, because if he elects to go to the Thieves Town area, which would be reasonable considering the number of chests that are there, but we know that to be, unless Quake is required, a bad decision.
Yeah.
We're going to be in for a treat once one of these runners finds Flute, because the troll factor will be pretty high if it turns out that Meyer was Quake required.
At this point, I'm expecting Flute to just be at the Pyramid Ferry, make the most inconvenient routing for... I mean, we already had that already with the Moon Pearl. So it's like, you know, Flute may as well make that as inconvenient as possible, too.
Just commit all the way for it. I mean, that would be one reason that, you know, when I was thinking about why Rick immediately left Desert, you know, on my mind at the time was, well, it's, you know, one of the Fat Fairy crystals. And you're already there, so clearing it right then and there would not be a terrible idea. But, you know, if you could really synergize your movement once you find the Flute and do it all at once, you know, in Magic Christmas Land, that's a great plan. But, you know, the randomizer doesn't always give you Magic Christmas Land. Sometimes it gives you hot garbage.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right, well, Rick is going to have a much easier time in this maze since he can see where he's going.
Which will definitely give him a lot more time back that Taser spent, you know, getting lost in the maze, and then also we'll save Rick a little bit of time in the secondary dark part of Palace of Darkness as well.
Oh yeah, and that Tempered Sword, as you mentioned before, is going to save him some time too. He'll just be able to one-shot those turtles in the turtle room, whereas Taser had a little bit more problems with it with Master Sword.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I would be quite surprised if TazerOne went anywhere other than Ice Palace after this play. But I love surprises, so we'll have to see. Taser, meanwhile, enjoying a sand pit party. I hate sand. It's coarse and it's rough and it gets everywhere.
And yep, he is opting to finish the rest of Desert Palace. It's so interesting looking back on this seed where it's just like both runners have had such different ideas when it's come to routing this, and at the end of the day, they could all end up at the same place at the same exact time for all we know. So it's really cool to watch just the routing of this seed and how we've gotten to this point so far.
Well, I especially like the contrast in the routes. The logic skip by Taser ended up turning a player who was pretty far behind, paying out with mitts and bow. It's made a lot of his routing as far as overworld clearing very, very efficient. But, as you mentioned, Rick having knowledge of Quake and having cleared extra pendant dungeons, but we're about to find out if that was a waste of time or not. And by about to find out, I mean in 10 minutes when we find the loot.
Yeah, because Rick has looked through so many more locations than what Taser has at this point. So he's kind of in a state where once he gets zeroed in on the go mode items, he'll just move straight to the end, while Taser, depending on what could be required for this seed, might have to revisit some dungeons and, go to some things that Rick has already cleared. So, it's really interesting to see how this is going to play out. I just don't know how it's going to be yet.
A pretty nice Helmosaur fight from Rick. Again, the Tempered Sword, just saving him some time straight up.
So as Rick gets his, that's only his second crystal. Taser gets his fourth crystal, has a pretty significant crystal lead right now, but Taser also has the 2 Light World crystals, which are probably the fastest crystals to get in the game. So, Rick will be able to get these other 2 very quickly.
Yeah, the mirror efficiency on the eastern side of the map here with mirror and pod/eastern is very strong. I mean, not having to walk into there twice saves you minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick has already, I believe, gone through all of the eastern. Yes, yeah, he's got the best boomerang already, so he'll just go straight to Armos and kill him. So it'll be a pretty quick crystal pickup for him. And it looks like Taser is electing to make probably a Village of Outcasts Thieves Town area check, which again, very reasonable in terms of chests per minute, but unless Quake ends up being required, no go.
Or he could be getting that lamp because he realizes, I don't want to do any more dark rooms.
That's fair. And if he got this and went straight to Ice Palace, that might be in his favor. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a pretty compelling play to stay here and at least check Village of Outcasts. I wouldn't blame him if he did that at all.
Yeah, I can imagine it right now, looking at his tracker, seeing both Misery Mire and Turtle Rock as crystals, and those can be really rough dark rooms to get through. So it's I've already done the Palace of Darkness ones, I've done the Eastern ones. Let's not do any more. Let's not waste any more time in dark rooms.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what we talked about before. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses and knowing what you're capable of. Just because you can do a dark room you're capable of it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the fastest. So if spending the minute to get the lantern is going to save you 2 minutes of dying in mire trying to do that dark room, then it was objectively the smart play to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Taser is going to be checking out the Dark World side of Death Mountain. Now, Rick has already done this stuff, so Rick will be able to gain a little bit of time here, especially if he goes straight for Ice Palace next.
Worth noting that Taser, already having had Ether, will have at least 1 medallion off of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Bombos was in Super Buddy Cave or something like that, so he'll very shortly have the second one, so he'll probably be feeling pretty good about his odds for Meyer, but...
Yeah, because I don't think he's even checked the pedestal at this point.
I believe you're correct.
He obviously finished off Mothula. But yeah, I don't think he checked that pedestal. And looks like Rick is going to be picking up that ether medallion, because I think he could be doing a blacksmith in the purple chest check.
Yeah, I do like this routing. I have a feeling he might decide to end it with a desert completion, and then maybe go to ice after that. But maybe I just keep guessing on desert ice because it's the play I want to do.
Well, it would not be a bad play. I mean, it's technically like possible that, yeah, purple chest will probably end up having the flute. Or not purple chest, sorry, pyramid fairy.
Another resident sleeper. Wait, doesn't he have boots? Yeah, he just missed a couple of them. Okay.
Yeah, he did the dash, the first ones, just not the last ones.
Alright, so Taser seeing Turtle Rock accessible. Have a feeling he's going to go check Spike Cave. Alright, so Rick completing the chain here. Since he's already completed his other South Dark World check, I believe saving and quitting to Link's house is faster, especially since he's already checked the Bombos tablet.
That is correct.
Good old Spike Cave. Checking that chest is always a riot.
It definitely was in that case.
See, it's funny because the nickname for that shield is the riot. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so Rick picking up his ether. He's real happy to see that. But without the Cane of Samaria... Wow, are both runners heading over to the Fabled Cave, or the Fabled Palace of Ice at the same time?
I believe they are. Wow, this is incredible.
Wow, so for an hour and a half, these runners have had incredibly disparate routing choices, sequence breaks, check locations, and then an hour and 32 minutes later, they both end up in the same dungeon. I love it.
I know, and this is what I was saying earlier. It's so impressive to just think about how these two routes have differed so much, and at the very end of it all, they're both here in this location. And, you know, you gotta think, even though, like, Taser does have Desert completed over Rick right now, that Tempered Sword is gonna gain Rick a lot of time and just boss kills and just overall efficiency. So it's honestly not that... Again, it'll be really cool to just see how this is going to end up.
Yeah, I think a lot of it... the routing divergence has melted Kirby's brain, everybody. That's how you know it's a good seed. But I think a lot of this seed is going to depend on exactly what the medallion is for Meyer, because if it's Quake, this seed became incredibly close. Or excuse me, if it's not Quake, this seed became incredibly close. And if it is Quake, Rick is ahead by a very large margin.
Yeah, and just the fact they are in here looking for the same progression right now. Again, speechless, but like... Rick's checked so many more things. 2 entire dungeons worth of stuff. And it just shows like how fast he's made it through this seed, like just checking everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, but that's the real beauty and attraction of the randomizer is, you know, on a good day, anybody can beat anybody with solid routing decisions and a little bit of luck.
Definitely.
All right, Rick setting up for the bomb jump, which is if you're looking to start getting into like tricks, quote unquote, and minor glitches or whatever you want to call them, in terms of just raw time saved per trick, it's hard to argue with the Ice Palace bomb jump. This single trick alone can save multiple minutes. It's a great tool to have in your belt if you're interested in playing this game in a race environment.
Yeah.
And as you can see with these runners, even experienced runners of this game can sometimes have trouble with this trick.
Definitely. And especially if you want to learn like the no major glitches run of the vanilla game, that's a trick that I think is something you really want to learn for this dungeon, because it makes getting through the dungeon really, really fast. Like, you'll be through here faster than you know it in the NMG run.
Yeah, we got chat coming up with all the clickbait titles for our article already.
Oh boy.
All right, so Rick, having gotten a small key very early in the Ice Palace dungeon, gets what we like to call fast ice. So you can immediately go into this right side here and check it. It's good for three item checks anyway. Oh, and the flute in Ice Palace.
Oh, that is going to pay off very well for Rick. He's going to be able to just very quickly pop back into desert, clear out that crystal, and not worry about going all the way back and walking all the way back there.
Oh man, so we're like T-minus 5 minutes away from knowing what the medallion is. I bet Rick is super anxious to find out what it is.
And I'll be interested to see how he plays. Like, if it does end up not being the Quake medallion for Meyer, he's probably going to be really, really far behind because he did so much extra work. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how he plays from then on out, like not knowing what his opponent knows, what his opponent's done.
Yeah, and that's another difficult bomb setup. TazerOne showing off a little bit of game knowledge, knowing that there are hearts in those corners of this really annoying firebar room there.
Ooh, unfortunate bump from that firebar right there from Taser.
Sometimes it's good to, even though it feels slower, setting up with boots on the ice physics, sometimes just knowing it can give you a straight line, it's worth taking the extra time.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we see Rick putting those techniques to good use right there. You do have that little bit of wind up, but just giving you a guaranteed straight line is often worth it. Alright, so because TazerOne did not do the Ice Palace bomb jump, he is having to do the quote-unquote intended strats here for this particular palace. We got a same room high five here, except the runners are going to be going very different directions in it. So we're still looking for item number 3 here, and it looks like it's on Cold Stare. Well, if Samaria is on Cold Stare, that would make this an incredibly stacked Ice Palace. TazerOne doing a good job of keeping his health full here. I think after not having enough hearts to complete the bomb jump, he's a little gun shy, and I can't say I blame him. Meanwhile, we've got a Cold Stare fight going on the left-hand side here. Oh, Rick just getting trolled by the ice droplets. That is annoying. That dropped at like the worst possible time. Wow, a nice quadruple spin with a tempered sword there. That was impressive. Wow. Nice recovery
despite
from...
that bad luck. Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so I have a feeling... Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you paid for your entire seat, but for the next minute or so, you're only going to need the edge, because we're about to find out if Meyer is required Quake, which meant that this was a pedestal seat.
After we activate the flute, of course.
Well, obviously. I mean, just sitting at the edge of the seat, it's good for your posture.
That's true.
Good for the spine. All right, so get your bless RNGs out in chat, because the life of the seed is hanging on, I think, what is about to happen here. And I can't think of a better prelude to such a great moment than the Swank Duck Anthem, which we're about to hear. Well, you'll be able to hear it in your hearts, anyway. Meanwhile, TazerOne doing the rarely seen intended route for Ice Palace here without the Canis Maria.
Wow, my heart is just so full of love after hearing that music.
Yeah, the Crystal Dark World dungeon music is pretty awesome. Yeah, TazerOne coming to the realization that, man, this dungeon sucks when you do it the intended way.
Let's see what we got here. Quake!
I missed it.
It's Quake!
Oh.
Pedestal required seed. Everybody.
Wow.
And you know, I'd almost say that Rick had a bit of a lead now just from his Ice Palace execution, but this small lead just turned into a much bigger lead now.
Yikes. That is... Yeah, you're correct. This lead now is quite impressive, actually, now. Because Rick is a solid 2.5 dungeons ahead of TazerOne right now. Full clear.
And just picked up the silvers on top of that as well.
Although it is important to note, we still have not seen Samaria. The odds of it being inside Meyer itself are probably pretty good.
Yeah, just because I don't think there's anything left unless it's, you know, in Pyramid Fairy. And that's probably what Rick's also doing right now, too, before he picks up that medallion, just because he knows that, you know, Canis Samaria could be at the Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, very true. But doing the smart move right now and just getting this desert dungeon out of the way. This is something that Taser has already done. So it'll feel like he's getting back a little bit more time on this, but the only advantage I can think of for Taser is that if he finds everything he needs except for Quake and then discovers it's on Pedestal, he might get to go mode those dungeons, but yikes. That's still a pretty big lead for Rick.
Yeah, it is a tremendous lead because, you know, if he doesn't check that Pedestal location, he's going to be full clearing all those other dungeons, including Turtle Rock, looking for that Quake medallion.
Well, assuming he can find... I guess it depends on where the location of Samaria is.
Yeah, if Samaria is on the pyramid anyway. Pyramid Fairy.
Nice Bombos use by TazerOne, I approve. Saves the mana, can often make it easier to set up the sword spin. Oh, just a little too early on the release there, though.
With that, Rick gets his 5th crystal, only 2 remaining. Still 2 items from Go Mode, though, but he is going to get one of his items at some point. Could be getting the other item shortly.
I have a feeling we're about to see the Fat Fairy check you mentioned.
Probably from both runners, too.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a bold move to dive into Mire this late into the seed without having Canis and Maria.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, logically, you know, Quake could lead to you know, where Samaria is. It's just kind of hard to tell how gross the logic wants to be.
Yeah. And the logic really has been very gross in this seed, for sure.
Alright, so what do we got out of Taser here? We're going to be treated to a great swag dump anthem. But, you know, tweeted also works because it's a bird. So that was a 100% intentional pun and not a misspeaking on my part. Alright, what do we got inside the Great Pyramid? That's the red color. Those were both red items, but neither one of them were in the shape of a cane.
Nope, so, yeah, it looks like Canis Maria is going to be a little bit vanilla today.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember, like, where else could the cane be that neither of these runners have checked that isn't in Mire?
I think that's it. I think it's Mire.
That's pretty rude. Pedestal required medallion just to enter Mire, and the Cane of Samaria is in Mire. I mean, come on. Kick them while they're down, why don't you?
Okay, so here's the unfortunate realization for Taser right here.
He sees the Quake, he's like, really? This is how you're gonna play me, game? And on the left side of your screen, we're about to see a wavy coin held aloft by a bunny. There it is.
So I was thinking of one extra annoyance that could be in this particular scene.
Hit me with it. Shovel?
Yep.
You know, that would be apropos because there were a grand total of 6 shovels in the hash between the two runners.
Oh my god, there were! I forgot about that.
So that would be that would just be glorious. But see, that's just rude. Which is why I support it. Alright, so it's an hour and 47 minutes. You've completed a pedestal check for a required item, and you're entering Crystal Misery Mire without the Canis Maria. How do you feel, Kirby? Put yourself in Rick's place.
I'm feeling, when will this seed ever end?
I'm feeling bad, man. Alright, so is Taser heading to Swamp? If you're playing the numbers game and you're just looking for items, Swamp's a pretty good choice. It's got 6 items and a green pendant. He could also be doing the Fat Fairy check as well. Both would be very reasonable plays by Taser. Alright, it's already going to be a good mire because the first free chest is a compass. Not a key or anything else, a compass. And the second chest, there's your key. So if I had to guess, like if Taser's trying to go, I talked about Swamp being chests per minute. If he wants to go Swamp Palace into Fat Fairy, he could take that green pendant he got from Swamp, and it would just be really efficient routing as far as chests per minute. Unfortunately, it's all ground that that Rick, his opponent, has already tread. Meanwhile, we've got Rick continuing on his way through Mire. Really, we're just looking for the Phantom Ryu special here. We're looking for that Cane of Samaria. And just nothing but disappointment in Mire. I do like the routing choice here by Rick. A lot of people like ducking over to check this one chest sooner rather than later. And especially when you have the big key, it just, again, it makes for more chests per minute. The longer you can put off that stupid cutscene wall chest, the better, in my opinion. For a minute there, I thought we were going to have vanilla Cane of Samaria after just an hour and 50-minute odyssey, but that was not the case. Alright, so Rick's got the torch puzzle room left here. Not this one, the other torch puzzle room. Best cutscene room in the entire game. Rick might take this opportunity to check his email, maybe open up Tinder, swipe left or right a few times, maybe write a short poem about, ode to randomizers, ode to pedestal seeds in this specific case. But yeah, if you're an hour and 50 minutes in, and you're still in Crystal Misery Mire looking for the Cane of Samaria, you've just got to feel behind. Oh, and there's Cane of Samaria. Good lord. See, if I had been a bunny in a red tunic at that point, I'd have been throwing bombs in that chest, swinging my sword at it. Really letting that chest know exactly how I feel. Alright, so if you're a Speed Gaming subscriber, I gotta see that Speed Cane in chat. Because hour and 51 minute Cane is just a thing of beauty. Especially after a pedestal seed. I'm so glad I wasn't running this seed. I'd be so mad. So the good news for Rick is he's going to be able to go mode Turtle Rock, which isn't particularly much faster than normal clearing it, but he'll be able to go straight from Turtle Rock into Ganon's Tower, which it always feels good. The less you have to climb Death Mountain, the better. And I'm seeing all those glorious speed canes in chat. Good work, guys. So yes, for those wondering, Slim Kirby is having a little bit of net problems. But he is working on resolving them as we speak. In the meanwhile, you're stuck with little old me. But as I mentioned, the less you have to climb Death Mountain, the better. So Rick is going to be definitely ahead of his opponent in that regard. He climbed Death Mountain once to clear basically the entire thing, including Pendant Hera. And then has only Turtle Rock left, and he'll be able to go straight from Turtle Rock to Ganon's Tower. And for those of you joining us late, this was in fact a pedestal seed. Quake was on the pedestal, which is something that AdirondackRick knew early, but TazerOne still is in the dark about. But he's making good routing choices anyway. He's full clearing this dungeon, which is something he's going to have to do anyway for the pendant. And more than likely making his way either to Fat Fairy for Pyramid and then over to Sahashala for the pendant turn-in. And then more than likely we'll be heading over to the Village of Outcasts, Thieves Town area after that. Alright, is Rick going to stop off at the Witch for some potions? Nope. He's going straight to Turtle Rock. And honestly, at an hour and 54 minutes, it definitely feels like you're behind. But again, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, knowing whether or not you're capable of clearing Turtle Rock and the rest of Ganon's Tower without the safety of a potion, is definitely good knowledge to have. But Rick has got red tunic, he's got tempered sword, he's got silvers, he's got half magic, and he also has cape. So basically every safety you could hope for is what Rick has in his possession, and he knows that the last possible sword upgrade is in the lumberjack tree. So he ain't gonna be using, he ain't gonna be opening up a whole lot of chests. And TazerOne getting entirely the wrong color cane from Sahasrahla.
Okay, I think I am back. Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. Did you shake a rolled up newspaper at your internet cables, threaten to smack it?
Yes, I did, and it worked perfectly.
Nice. See, kids, violence is always the answer.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
No, you said it. Violence is always the answer. Slim Carey.
I did not say that.
Yep, I'm gonna put that in the logbook right next to Rick's death was 100% intentional at the beginning of the game. I got all kinds of good quotes from you today.
So Turtle Rock, as you said earlier, it's going through this dungeon normally, not very much different from Go mode, because you do have to kind of go around, get all those keys. So, going to be seeing a lot of these item checks anyway, even if he secretly wants to just go straight to the end, but you need that big key and you need a couple of small keys to do that.
Yeah, I mean, of all the dungeons that you get to go mode in this nightmare of a seed, Turtle Rock being the one that you get is almost an insult.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But you gotta play with the cards you're dealt. And this seed dealt out cards that just had poop emojis on them. But we, the audience, got to enjoy an amazing. I mean, this is what the randomizer gives you, kids. Is ridiculous stuff like this. This is why I keep coming back to this. And it's a lot better if you're watching it and not playing it, as far as troll seed levels are concerned. I don't know about you, Slim.
I don't know. I mean, I entirely agree. Like, the items could literally be anywhere. And you have to think that in one of the many possible randomizer combos you could get in this particular seed, it landed on this one. With the ludicrous Search for the Moon Pearl. And then, of course, a Pedestal seed, which was very close to not being a Pedestal seed, just based on just the horrible value of the pendant dungeons that we had in this seed. And then just at the very end, it became a Pedestal seed to even get into Mire to get the Cane of Samaria to finish Mire.
Yeah, it is worth noting, too, that you talked about value in pendant dungeons. I just only now realized that TazerOne skipped the... oh, no, wait. Tempered isn't here. I was thinking that Tempered was in Swamp. Look, after 2 hours, I need to take a sip of water and remember my memory.
Well, again, we haven't been in this dungeon in about, like, an hour. Probably even more than that. So, it's understandable to forget where exactly it was. And there's his Tempered Sword. Yep, he is tied with Rick in sword upgrades again.
God, it's just got to be annoying to pick that up an hour and 58 minutes into his seed. You're like, hey, thanks, Tempered Sword. List of items that I could have used an hour ago.
Would have made Cold Stare a lot better. Would have made Mafia a lot better. Would have made a lot of bosses a lot better.
Well, unfortunately, we did get a bit of a slideshow from TazerOne while he was doing Cold Stare, but he seemed to finish it off well enough. Didn't take a death or anything, so at the very least, there was no time lost there.
Yeah, Cold Stare is probably one of the worst bosses to take a death to, just because it means you have to go through all of Ice Palace again, and if you don't know that bomb jump, that could be a long, long pathway to the end.
Oh, cool! The with the dark Phazon suit Samus, the maiden's dress gets a lot more sinister. It looks like they're going to like a goth wedding or something.
I think it actually looks really nice.
Well, I know what social group you hung out with in high school, Kirby.
Don't put words into my mouth.
It's not the words in your mouth, it's the black face paint that I'm worried about, my friend. But that's all right. If there's one thing that the God kids know how to do, it's have awesome music and great dance moves.
I'm just saying she looks classy, that's all.
Well, if the Link to the Past sprites were a little bit longer, she could be a long, cool woman in a black dress. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Really? Nothing from that one either? It's a tough crowd here, and then in the Slip Kirby pun department.
Yeah, sorry, man. Anyway, Rick is approaching the Trinex fight for his last crystal, finally, at the 2-hour mark.
Oh man, if there's one thing that always annoys the crap out of me, it's successfully laying the Samaria block on those tracks and then following before it fully materializes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're already feeling like you're in a hurry because you're cutting it that close, and then you take the fall and you're like, really, game? Is this what you're gonna do me with?
If only Rick knew how far he was ahead right now, but again, there was no way for him to know that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at 2 hours, you gotta be feeling like you're behind no matter what. Even in a pedestal seed. Maybe 2 hours with a pedestal plus Aghanim seed, you might not feel as bad.
Right.
But I would already feel bad just because it was a pedestal Aghanim seed.
Plus, we can't forget, Rick didn't do, or tried not to do very much sequence breaking in this particular seed, so because of that, a sequence break could have foregone the lamp entirely, so he I don't want to say wasted, he used a lot of time just getting the sequence break, or the sequence in logic. But we do have all 7 crystals, which means we do have a game we're going to be playing here on the Speed Gaming channel. There are 22 chests inside Ganon's Tower that could have the big key. Chat, what location, 1 through 22, do you think that key is going to be in?
Remember, for those who have either donated 250 bits or subscribed to any of the Speed Gaming family of channels, are eligible to be entered in the leaderboard. So get your guesses in. Kirby, my friend, after a ridiculous troll seed, what do you think the odds of the big key in the tile room are? If you say 1 out of 22, I'm going to have to rephrase my question.
With this seed, it could be very high, I'll give you that. But I'm going to go with number 8. I think it's going to be number 8.
All right, so we've got chest number 1. Not it. Chest number 2, also not it. All right.
Like, location number 3 is not going to be it either.
Bob lives. Whether or not we'll see him is another thing entirely. Alright, time for my least favorite room of all of Ganon's Tower. It's this dang red Stalfos room. Can't stand it. Those guys are jerks.
I like the room, I don't like the Stalfos in the room. Because just the way they bounce, and then every time they bounce away you get hit with fireballs, it's really annoying.
So you like the room, but you don't like the thing that defines the room.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure we were on the same level there.
Because the room, I mean, it looks like a nice space. Like, it doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, the 4 treasure chests really tie the room together. Man. Oh no. Troll Derm. Just destroying kids. Meanwhile, I believe that was chest 8.
Yep, so my guess is not going to be correct here.
I think no matter what happens, Kirby, it's the only thing that's important is that you were not right. I think we can all agree on that.
Thank you. I'm glad to know that you all had such faith in me.
Alright, chest 9. Nothing. See, the room I always kind of secretly hope for is the randomizer room. 1, because it's named after the randomizer, because The only reason you would ever go here in any category is if you're playing the randomizer.
Mhm.
But I also like to say randomizer room because it's a really cheaty way of guessing 4 chests in the game.
That's true.
That's 10, 11, 12, and 13. Nothing.
Not nothing. We found the shovel.
You're correct. I stand corrected.
That could lead to a piece of heart or something. Anyway, here we go for the second time in the seed. TazerOne is heading towards the pedestal to pick up his Quake medallion.
That is correct. And it's a blind pull, I believe.
Yes, it is. He realizes this is all he has left to check.
It's still funny. It's still funny to me. Good stuff.
You could tell just from that pause before he started moving again. He's like, of course, of course.
All right, Bob's chest. Nothing.
Looks like we're going to Ice Armos.
So that was chest 14, I believe. So we got 15, 16, and 17 behind Ice Armos here. Ice Armos always annoying. Not as annoying with silver arrows, though. Alright, we got 15 here. 16 and 17, a bust.
I was hoping for that to be all 3 dungeon items because map and compass were there, but it looks like it's going to be either in the tile room or the 4 chests, which is the compass room, I believe.
So you wanted a reprieve of the Swamp Palace experience where both map and compass were on the left side.
Yeah, a little bit.
See, you guys thought I was a jerk. Thanks for making me not feel quite so bad. Oh wow, is this a bold tile room check first out of Rick?
It is.
Wow.
You know, at this point,
The stones on this man.
he feels behind, I'm guessing, so it's like, well, why not? You know, maybe I can gain a little bit of time here, just in case my opponent is close to where I am.
Well, I like it. You know, if you're if it's a full clear seed, and it's faster to route in tile room now while you're doing it. Like if you're planning on doing it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh, no.
Oh man, what a great seed this has been.
I've learned that just never check tile room like early.
Tile room it doesn't matter what your route is. If you're doing the standard meta, or if you're doing the new meta of right side, even if you're doing Dark Magician, either the full or half, tile room should always be done last, unless you're intentionally making a gamble. Because tile room is objectively the worst payout per time. But doing it sooner rather than later, if you're attempting to make a gamble, is about the only way I could respect it.
Yeah, it's a respectful play. It just seems like whenever it is made as that gamble, it never works out.
19, 20, 21. Wow. Good stuff. All right, so Heyman848, closest sub or supporter, guessing 20. One away from the final check. That almost makes it worse. Because, like, if it'd almost be better to say, hey, I had a pedestal seed, and the big key was my 22nd check. That's almost a better story.
Yeah, would be a good check. A good story, I agree.
Although these runners might need therapy after the seed, and their therapist will probably advise them to not talk about their experience right away. They need time for healing. Alright, so TazerOne picking up his Canis and Maria, officially entering go mode at 2 hours and 9 minutes in a pedestal seed. Yikes.
Where literally every single location to this point has been checked, so feels bad, man. I think that's the emote people use for a case like this.
Although it's got to be a little heartening to know, you know, having gone through this entire ridiculous chain, you know, still no dot done, you know, no finish from your opponent quite yet. So the hope is still alive.
That's true, but then that also brings up your nerves kind of getting to the end game here. I bet even Rick is starting to feel in it now. Like, I am still in this. I am still in this. Please don't choke. Please don't choke. Like, that's stuff that goes through your mind at this point in a long seed like this.
All right, land mode 2 checked off the list for Rick.
Would I be safe in assuming that Rick does have some backup magic just in case?
I know one of the runners has a green potion, but I think it's Taser and not Rick. But he might have that blue potion he picked up from yeah, from the south of Haunted Grove location, the mirror check place.
I figured he'd be fine getting to the top anyway without it, but like still just, you know, making sure. He was getting a little crazy with magic during the Lamno fight.
Oh, he almost fell off. This is a tricky lantern hit, but he nails it. Good work from Rick there.
Yeah, good job, Rick.
Meanwhile, Taser picking up crystal number 6. And Rick showing us exactly what can go wrong in this dumb conveyor belt room.
Yeah, I don't know. There are times where, like, I just don't understand how that wall doesn't get bombed, or how the bomb doesn't land in the conveyor belt. I don't get it.
Yeah, and Rick also showed us some weird things that can happen with, like, bonking off of the wall and going this other direction because of the way conveyor belts in this game work.
Yeah, that room's weird.
I agree.
It doesn't have the same charm as the layout of the Stout Post room, and it takes them to fall by Moldorm too.
So would you say you like everything about that room, except for the bombs and the conveyor belts and the spikes?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand what attracts you to a room, Slim.
Yeah,
callbacks.
we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Meanwhile, oh no, Rick! Nothing is worse than feeling like you're behind in a seed. It's a tournament. Your hands are shaking, palms are sweaty. You fall to Moldworm and Mom Spaghetti. I couldn't not do it. I'm sorry.
You got him.
All right. Well, does fall to Trolldorm 2 Electric Boogaloo, but does manage to finish it up on the trilogy. All right, we got one more conveyor belt room. Slim loves everything about this room except for the ice, the conveyor belts, and the mini helmet stores.
I don't like anything in that room. Why did developers make that room so mean?
All right, kids, get out your protractors. It's time for Aghanim 2. There'll be a test later. Oh, Rick almost got the triple. That would have been a really hard triple to get. And then gets blue ball trolled. Ooh, nice double.
Yeah, at this point, though, Rick just needs to finish off this fight, and at this point, he is 2 full dungeons ahead of his opponent right now, so he has time for Ganon. If things kind of go haywire, he still has a lot of buffer to work with, so looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, but I mean, in Rick's mind, it's like it's 2 hours and 14 minutes. No, you know, I have not finished. My opponent hasn't finished. I bet he's just staring at the race chat, just waiting for it. And if there's one thing I like about this game and its randomizer is the Ganon fight, I feel is actually a pretty good, like it's a difficult enough fight at the end of the game to really be worthy of the final boss fight.
Oh, I agree completely, yeah.
Because there are some games where the last boss fight is something that's just cheesed or kind of a joke, but I mean, there's definitely strategies you can use to make this safer, which is what Rick is doing right now with the cape.
And the cape, like, the cape is not a required item in the vanilla version of the game, so it kind of rewards you if, like, you are, you know, a completionist and you want to get every item in the game. Like, you have these tools to make this, honestly, difficult fight a lot easier.
Yeah, and putting all the tools that he has available to use with the cape and the blue potion there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, entering phase 3 here. All right, Ganon wasn't too much of a jerkbag and didn't excessively teleport. Ah, Rick! He almost got knocked off. The nerves have got to be incredible for Rick right now.
Yeah.
He gets a nice double.
Just needs to kind of enter that focus mode right now. He's one hit away. Just needs one more, and this should do it.
All right, 4 arrows in the pig. Rick lets loose a celebratory single silver arrow, raises his Cheeto sword high, and says, "Thank God this seed is finally over." Bust out your GGs in chat for AdirondackRick. Finishing with a official speed racing time of 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 21 seconds. That's a pedestal seed right there for you.
And what a pedestal seed it was. My gosh.
Thank you, your quest is over. Should say thank you, may I have another. Alright, meanwhile, we've got Taser making his way through Turtle Rock. Go mode Turtle Rock, so at least he doesn't have to go into the vanilla big key chest room. Alright, we'll see if we can't get Rick in here to join us. So, Taser in Gomo Todorock, just making his way through the dungeon here. I'd say my only real disappointment in this seed, Kirby, is that Shovel, after being, you know, much hyped at the very beginning of this seed in the hash, ended up being unchecked.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's disappointing, but we are joined by our winner of this race, AdirondackRick. Welcome to the chat, GG. How are you feeling after that that seed?
Sure was a seed.
Well, it was a seed.
It had items that were placed randomly.
It had items that were placed randomly. It felt like items were placed a little kind of inconvenient at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say one thing. I so enjoy having so many places come down to the final place to search. There's no way to feel further behind than the competition than to have the last chest always have your progression.
Yeah, that happened to both you and your opponents multiple times with many different items. I do have one question for you though, Rick. What was going through your mind when you saw that Quake was a pedestal required item so early in the game?
it did impact my decisions to... Hold on just 1 second.
I'm holding on. Holding on to my chair.
Yeah, you can do that.
But yeah, I'd say the real big difference here between you and your opponent was I think having that Quake knowledge. I don't know. You can tell us whether or not it influenced your routing decisions, because clearing those pendant dungeons didn't feel quite so bad when you knew that there was a medallion waiting at the end.
Yeah, that weighed in my mind, and it was like, okay, I guess we're full clearing Thieves Town. I'm full clearing Hero when I get up there. I'm gonna go ahead and full clear Swamp, and I use that in the back of my mind, knowing that until I get the Flute, until I get the Titan's Mid, there's no way of me knowing whether or not this is the right play to go. And then I felt so relieved going into Misery Mire, finding, oh God, thank God it's the Quake.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that entire journey, having Cane of Samaria be locked inside Mire it just felt like the final insult.
It did, but you notice I ended up checking everything else because I didn't want Pyramid Fairy to have the Cane of Samaria for me not to find it in there and find out, oh God, I gotta come back out. And you notice it came down to the final possible chest in Misery Mire for me to get it in too.
Well, and Ganon's Tower also.
Yeah, well, the next to last. There was one more chest I could have checked.
That's true. That's very true.
Number 21, not number 22.
Nope, that's a very important distinction, and one that was made. The game almost got you with the last check, but not quite.
Yeah, well, I figured I'm gonna have to backtrack into Tile Room. Let's check it now. Darn it, it's not what I want.
Yeah, did you feel, because you had to have felt like you were behind with all the last checks in a pedestal seed, but was Tile Room just like a last ditch gamble for you, or was it just something you wanted to route in?
Something I wanted to route in. Like, I have to go to the room to the right. If it's not there, I've got to go through that room no matter what. So I'm like, okay, I'll clear it out now. I mean, it's a time waste if there's nothing in there. And yeah, it turned out to be a time waste, but in the end, it's like... I have to go back and lay the switch down on that thing again and do all that other stuff, so I might as well take care of it now.
Yeah, you would have had to, if it had been there, you'd have had to mirror out and run all the way back in again. Like, it makes a lot of sense in context.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, your opponent is entering Ganon's Tower. We'll see if he makes a deep right side play or does the kind of meta standard routing or not.
Well, he doesn't get a key, because he's going to have to go to the left side for at least a little bit anyway.
No, that's very true.
But yeah, I love how, okay, I guess my next progression is going to take me into Palace of Darkness.
Yeah.
Show me anything but the cape. Show me anything but the cape, and I'll feel good about myself. The booze.
Well, I mean, by your own admittance, that you then felt good about yourself right afterwards.
Yeah, but then when I found out where the chain ended was with the cape, I'm like, oh, this is one of those kind of seeds where an actual sequence break would have paid off.
It's actually really interesting that you bring that up, because your opponent did actually do quite a bit of sequence breaking, and he did go to Death Mountain very, very early to get Titan's Myth and the bow. So he did have that kind of going for him. But by the same token, though, that pedestal knowledge is, I think, what clinched it for you, just because your opponent never checked the pedestal at all until, I believe it was a blind pull as well. So
Yep, blind pull.
You both took such different routes, and it was really amazing. They both kind of conjoined after all that stuff back in Ice Palace. You both entered Ice Palace in the same, 20-second span, I'd say.
Yeah, that was incredible to see. An hour and 32 minutes in, you guys were both walking into Ice Palace at the same time.
Yeah. And by that point, I knew that there had to be progression in Ice Palace.
Yep. Another one of the last possible checks.
Yeah, I love my collection rate, by the way.
I cannot wait to see it. It's still kind of scrolling through those last few things here, but yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess 186.
No, I guess it's not that high.
Oh, okay. It felt that high with the
It-
late Ganon's tower check.
It did. It did. I mean, you gotta remember, I didn't check 5 spots in Turtle Rock.
179.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable. And by reasonable, I mean, darn you, non-Aghanim required at the very least pedestal seed.
And I was waiting for the lamp because once I got the boots, I'm like, oh god, don't tell me this is an Aghanim required seed.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did not have that knowledge, but it was just a sword upgrade, and you had Temper by that point.
I checked it when I went to go to Bumper Cave.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, please don't be the Cane of Samaria. Please don't be the bow. Don't be something that makes me have to go up that damn tower after all of this you've sent me through. I was so ready for it to be that way, too.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been almost too easy for the game to troll you in that exact way. It had to do it in a different way.
Yeah, and again, going back to even just the Moon Pearl, like you could have easily sequence broke that and gotten that early, but the item progression required for that to go to Desert to get the powder, to go to Zora to get the hammer, to go to Magic Bat for the flippers, to go to Hobo, like that's an ungodly logical sequence there.
I thought I actually may have had an advantage when I found out that the hammer was at Zora, because that's not something you would normally check early on, and then find out, oh, okay.
Actually, I believe mentioning that, yeah, that did give you an early advantage, because, yeah, your opponent did not get Dark World access until very, very late. Once he did get the hammer, like, he still opted to do some other stuff before he even checked Magic Bat. So, yeah, that was a significant advantage, I'd say. Yeah, because I think he did all the Death Mountain stuff before he checked Magic Bat.
That's correct. Yeah, it was like 46 minutes, I think, before he had Dark World access. And it was a pretty long walk to get the Moon Pearl in this seed. Like it was several item layers deep.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of layers to this seed. Like, even think to where you had to get the lamp out of the Bumper Cave.
Oh yeah, that too, for sure.
And much like an onion, the more layers you pull apart in this seed, the more you start crying.
I already am crying.
Not to bring back too many past wounds, but obviously early on, it definitely looked like kind of started off a little rough with the bomb escape, and unfortunately taking that death as well.
That stupid guard!
I know,
that
right?
Stupid guard! I tried resetting him twice to get him not to come right at me when I came off the stairs, and he still came after me.
Yeah, that was some pretty incredibly unlucky guard RNG. Because it happened twice in a row.
It was, but unlike your opponent, you actually remembered that you had the mirror, so you kind of got a little time back from using the mirror. Because
I didn't realize. I did not realize that when you use the mirror after dropping her off before you leave Sanctuary, you go all the way back to the beginning of the castle. I did not realize that.
That was a question I actually had, because we were wondering if you're like, oh, maybe he's just doing this to go to Eastern and get like or Sashrala or South Shore to get like an advantage or something. But okay, no, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up.
No, I thought I was going to go right straight to the entrance of Sanctuary, and then it turned out not to be, and then I had to roll with the punches at that point, so I took South Shore.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I liked your good B strat usage in the mini Moldworm Cave there. That was good stuff.
I'm not going to bomb those things. You already saw how I was trying to get bomb the guards in Hyrule Castle. I wasn't going to get those things.
Well, Slim Kirby 100% maintains that you died intentionally to refill your bomb meter.
I did not say that, but that did work out. You did have more bombs to work with, which is good.
Yeah, just can't be taking that many hits going into the castle to the point where I need only down to a half a heart of that green guard.
That is probably one of the rougher escape sequences, though, for sure. with bombs.
Yeah, the advantage of having a guaranteed bomb for the back end of escape is tempered by the fact that you have to use bombs in escape.
So Rick, despite this seed and its many
Ups and
specific
downs.
qualities, yes, you do move on in the tournament with a record of 2-2. How are you feeling going on to next week?
I really don't know how to feel about this one. I really don't know. Like, I'm glad to still be alive as far as bracket contention is concerned, but and the same token, I'm like, medic.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you do have to maintain the only 2 loss to guarantee yourself a bracket position. So if you want to keep the dream alive, it's got to be all wins all the time.
I do know that this 216 with last items being progressions isn't going to probably win me a 5th raise. So I know I got to get luckier in that aspect. But that right there is just that's bad luck. That really is just bad luck.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, sometimes with a randomizer, you can have what seems like very efficient routing at the time, and sometimes it all takes is a skip or deciding to go, there's a 60-40% chance, and you go the 60 way, and it happened to be the 40 way that time, and you do that a few times in a seed, and just the way the items unfold, you can, lose 20 minutes very easily.
60-40, that felt like 99-1.
Well, maybe you need to go buy a lot, an irony lottery ticket after this seed, Rick.
I'll pass, but thank you.
But yeah, if there is one thing I can give you like definite props for is that, and it's hard to really say this just because like it was such a almost a random instance there at the very end, but you did read this seed very, very well. I mean, just kind of getting that pedestal knowledge and kind of working your way to that gave you a huge lead by the end of it. So, you definitely know how to read seeds. It's just unfortunate that, it's the randomizer factor sometimes just kind of comes back to bite you with that mindset.
I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the nature of the beast. It's like I said, there are days when you feel like you know exactly where the seed wants you to go, and then there's days where, okay, I guess we know that progression is going to be in this chest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one question I wrote down here that I forgot to ask you, Rick, is you really kind of went out of your way to strictly follow the logic in the seed in a way that I thought was very smart with the way you routed it. But the one thing that stood out to me was not wanting to go into Palace of Darkness without the lantern. Was that just kind of something that worked out with the way your routing was, or was that a conscious decision just kind of to follow the logic in that way?
Well, at that point, I knew that some sort of progression wasn't going to have me go into the Palace of Darkness, so I might as well just continue to follow the breadcrumbs and where the seed, where the logic wants me to go. Like I said, this is the kind of case where if by the time you got the hook shot off, and that was quite the hook shot location there on Bombos, but by the time you got that, you had to really have an idea for where you wanted to go in this seed. Like, going through the dark rooms, going up to Death Mountain, that probably would have saved a little bit of time overall, but
well, you did definitely have an advantage of you only climbed Death Mountain twice. Once to full clear everything except for Turtle Rock, and then the second and last time to get to Ganon's Tower and everything else.
Yeah, well, with the knowledge, and this goes back to what you were asking me earlier with regards to Quake, knowing that that's on the pedestal, I'm going to go and clear Hera. I'm going to finish that dungeon. If the pedestal turns out to be required, and again, it's a 33% chance at that point, whether or not it is, I don't want to have to go back up the mountain just to clear Hera on a Soul Team note.
Nope, that's fair. And I mean, honestly, as far as Light World dungeons are concerned, Hera is a relatively quick finish. You know, it's not like you're going all the way through, you know, swamp or something. Even though I guess the 2 items in Hera were relatively early in the dungeon. All right, so it looks like TazerOne is finishing off land mode 2, working his way up to the top parts of Ganon's tower. And it looks like he's doing a inventory check to perhaps check and see if he for sure has a green potion to see kind of how much spamming you can do with your magic items in these following rooms here.
I will say I did love the waterfall fairy giving me blue potions for free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's always a nice bonus.
Especially considering you had to use one of your blue potion that you bought, I believe, to get the magic bat item.
Yeah, I wasn't going around all of Kakariko Village to find a tiny little magic jar to be able to get the badge. So, you know what? I'm using it because I know progression is going to have to be here.
Yeah, easy blue goo come, easy blue goo go, I guess.
We were talking about how it'd be interesting if Cana Samaria, wasn't locked in Mire. If you actually had that, you could actually use fake powder with powder to get the magic bat item.
Oh, that would have been an interesting concept if that was the case. I will say that this is now the second tournament seed in a row where Meyer decided, oh, we're going to put the Canis Mario in here. Have fun.
Tips for Randomizer, guys. Check Mire for the cane sometimes. It could be there.
All right, so Taser making his way through the torch firebar room. Looks like he took a fall once, although it is hard to tell. So I'm scrolling through the list of people that are already 2-2 in this tournament, and there are a lot of very good runners that have had medium results. So the 2-2 bracket has definitely got some real interesting races to come in the future. That's the cool part about the Swiss format for this tournament, is the further in the tournament we get, typically the more skill matched you get on average for the comparisons. So the medium to later rounds of this tournament should be, not that the beginning parts weren't exciting, but the middle to end parts should be extra exciting. And a lot of people are going to be running their races with their tournament life on the line, with because that third loss pretty much guarantees you're not in the brackets.
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind we started with 512, was it? And moving on, we need 128 for the brackets, or actually less than that because there's auto qualifiers. But still, we're cutting the field about by 400. So 400 people are not going to be making it to that bracket stage. So there's going to be some really, really rough fights to get to the end here.
That was a lot of math you just threw at me, Kirby. My head hurts.
I'm sorry. It's these are things you think about when you're in the exact middle of a tournament of this fashion.
All right, so Taser on his Moldoran 2 fight. Rick, how frustrated were you taking those first 2 falls to Moldoran? Did you feel like the race was close and you were losing time on it, or did it just feel like the cherry on the top of the seed of this quality?
Yeah, it's just the seed punching me below the belt.
That's why you got to wear your. That's why you got to wear your lucky randomizer cup, my friend.
Yeah, I gotta go find it for next week.
And unfortunately, we're not entirely sure if Taser has successfully brought down Moldorm 2 yet. We'll get updates from our agents in the field shortly, hopefully.
In the meantime, I suppose I could probably give you guys. Oh, never mind.
What?
Taser's done, apparently.
Well, according to the Speed Racing TV, looks like TazerOne finished with a an SRTV time of 2 hours, 37 minutes, and 45 seconds. So I have a feeling that perhaps some of the streaming was delayed from all the lagging. So
yeah, I'm guessing that. Get your GGs in chat, everyone.
all right, we'll see if we can't get Taser in here for some salty post Pedestal required seed interview action. I will say that is the fastest I've ever seen anybody complete the walk up to Aghanim 2 into the Ganon fight. Like, I felt like I blinked and it was over. And the wavy coin sleeps again. Although I feel like forever is a misnomer because we're going to need to be utilizing that coin a lot more for seeds in the future.
Well, hey, if you need to get into Misery Mire in this randomizer timeline, you need to go get that again, so... Okay, so in our voice chat right here, we have TazerOne. TazerOne, how are you feeling after that extremely lengthy pedestal seed?
Yeah, I would feel better if after I had picked up powder, I had remembered I had picked up powder. And so I didn't wander around at the beginning going, what have I forgotten? Until I finally noticed it in my menu.
Ooh, that's rough. GG, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. How long was my stream messed up? I noticed when I got done, I looked over at OBS and went, oh.
Well, let me put it to you this way. You were lagging throughout Ganon's Tower, and 1 second you were finishing off Moldorm 2, and the next second the credits were already rolling.
Okay, so not too long though. It wasn't like most of the stream or something. That's good.
But
no, yeah, that was long.
Yeah, it was.
and I never went and checked Pedestal with the book because I've played so many seeds and gotten so few Pedestal seeds. I just kind of assumed it's not going to be one, just like it never is. But
and the scary one is that it decides, oh, hey, look, it's going to be a medallion that you don't know if you're going to need until late.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, the match went back and forth quite a bit. I'd say if Quake ended up not being required, it would have been an incredibly close race between the two of you, because Rick had cleared a lot of pendant dungeons that you had not routed quite yet. But that, unfortunately, ended up not being the case.
Yeah. Well, and that's just rando, You make your plays and they work or they don't. But it was a fun seed, though. I enjoyed it. I like the brain scratching, part of, man, where is it trying to tell me to go? And if I'd remembered I had powder, my early part of the game would have gone a lot better. But it was a lot of fun. Good game, Rick.
Yeah, GG to you too.
Yeah, it is interesting that you say that, because yeah, you were kind of delayed in getting your Dark World access, but by the same coin, you also sequence broke up the Death Mountain and got two very important items, the bow and the Titan's Mitt, which Rick actually had not gotten for a while. So you did kind of have that going for you. You actually caught up and surpassed him in crystal counts because he was spending so much time clearing pendant dungeons, because he did check, pretty much checked Pedestal right after Mothulus. So he knew that logic for the entire seed.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, we had no idea if it was going to be required or not, because we didn't know what was on Meyer.
Right, because Flute hid from us for so long.
So very interesting race. Definitely one I would recommend going back to watch back, both of you, just because of, again, you guys took such different routes this entire seed, and it was so cool to see you both kind of come back together when you went in the Ice Palace.
That was incredible.
I was telling Rick before before you came in, the same 20-second window, you both entered Ice Palace at the same exact time.
Wow. I look forward to watching it.
But yeah, definitely a good game to you both. Congrats to Rick for winning this game and moving on, and GG to you too, Taser, for making it interesting, and for honestly just having a really, really good attitude about this. Seriously, it's really refreshing to see that.
Oh, it's a game. It's for fun. And I'm out of the brackets now, but I'll keep going. This is fun. I enjoy it.
That's a good attitude to have.
Yeah, that's good to hear. If you're not having fun with stuff like this, what's the point, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on the victory, Rick. You'll be moving on to the 2 and 2 brackets. Taser will be moving on to the 1 and 3s for next week. Any final thoughts from you guys before we wrap this one up?
And the wavy coin lives on forever.
Forever.
In the hearts and minds of everyone. All right, well, that about does it for us here. If you're interested in more amazing randomizer action, I believe we've got more fights coming on in this very channel next. So definitely stay tuned. If you haven't already, make sure you give the Speed Gaming family of channels a follow. Speed Gaming 1 through 6, they put out really great content, whether it's randomizer races or NMG tournaments or any of the other great content that's going on here. Make sure you check that out.
And by the same token, don't forget to follow the ALTTP randomizer channels as well. They'll also be broadcasting matches from this tournament. So ALTTP randomizer and then ALTTP randomizer 2 through 4. And of course, the Speed Gaming channels 1 through 6. A lot of content for this tournament. We're only in week 4 of Swiss, and we still have 3 weeks after this, and then of course all the bracket matches as well. So it'll be a very fun and lengthy tournament. I want to give a special thank you to Merc249, our tracker for this match, keeping us up to date on all the items that were collected in this seed. And my God, we collected a lot of them. So thank you to him for getting all of that down. And of course, thank you to my co-com partner, Files. It was a joy, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. It was a joy commentating this with you. Had a lot of fun, and look forward to potentially working with you in the future as well.
Likewise, my friend. So yeah, thanks a lot for hanging out, guys, and we will see you next mission.
Later, everyone.